Picture it. A sleepy town in the east of Cork gets a sprinkling of Hollywood glamour as the words lights, camera, action quickens the hearts of young and old alike as they scramble on the quayside in the hopes of catching a glimpse of certain Mr. Gregory Peck. Welcome to this week's County Matters, coming to you from Leeside, the stunning county of Cork. And today I'm in the historic town of Youghal as it celebrates 60 years since the filming of the motion picture Moby Dick right here on these shores. And it's also the weekend that celebrates the 3rd anniversary of the Moby Dick Festival. Now, coming up later in the show, I'll be meeting up with curator Pat Lynch as he takes me through the treasure trove that is Fox's Lane Museum, and he also talks about its imminent sale. And hopefully I'll be getting an exclusive behind-the-scenes sneak peek of the making of the next music video from local 7-piece band Synergy. But right now, in part 1, it's all about that great white whale.
Ahoy there! Someone aboard?
Is the captain of the Pequod?
What does he want of the captain?
We were thinking of shipping.
Oh, they are thinking of shipping.
I aren't. I dost.
Not making sport of me, lad?
No, I just fell into that manner of speech.
If I went a Quaker and a man of peace, I'd fetch their clout on the side of their head, my lad, just to make sure. I see thee art no New Bedford man. Dost know nothing at all about whaling, I dare say, eh?
I've had several voyages in the merchant service.
Merchant service? Flukes, man. What takes thee whaling?
Sir, I want to see what whaling is like.
Have you seen Ahab, the captain of this ship? If you want to know what whaling is, then you'll know by clapping an eye on Captain Ahab.
Tell me now, 60 years ago since they made the film, why did they pick Youghal?
There are a few reasons given for that. The best one seems to be that geographically it resembled New Bedford, where the story was set by Herman Melville. Another reason then was that Claude Coburn, who lived about a mile out the road, was a famous, retired at the time, semi-retired, war journalist. And he was very friendly, it was said, with John Huston, the director of Moby Dick. And I think behind the scenes that Claude was a very quiet man, that Claude used his influence to bring John Huston here. There was another reason then, it's my own reason, and it always amused me. It was early February when the scouts came, the film scouts, to look at Youghal in the first place, February of 1954. And they went down along the quayside to see the docks, you know, what they looked like and so on, where would they film and all that. Now, it was only possibility at this stage. But standing around the corners of the quayside were all the old tars, all the old fishermen, back from having sailed the world, because they would have been in windjammers, they would have been in like tall ships, I call them. They were giving their lives on the seas, and they were discussing their travels and all the rest, but they had white beards, sailors' caps, navy clothes. They were all ready for filming. So when the scouts looked out, they said, gee, like the quays suited, across the way is all green, no houses, really natural. And here, look at these guys already standing around dressed for the part. They really didn't have to dress most of the men, the extras who were in the film. They were part of it all. They floated into it naturally. They were part of it.
I know all about him being crippled by a whale. Come on.
All about it, eh? You sure you do? Sure? They tell you how the whale marked him inside as well as out, and they tell you the mischief was worked on his soul? And no, I don't think they did. How could they? Who'd know it? Not many, I guess.
Ah, you can't fool us. It's the easiest thing in the world for a man to look like he's got a great secret in him.
I have, lad, I have. At sea one day, you'll smell land where there be no land. And on that day, Ahab will go to his grave, but he'll rise again within the hour.
Now, Ali, Casey, tell me, your mother was very much involved in the filming of Moby Dick.
My mother was an extra in Moby Dick. She was earning 30 shillings a day, which was big money at that time. My father had only £5 a week in the gas box, and my mother had 30 shillings a day. She also was caretaker in the town hall, and we as children used to have access to the the wardrobe and everything else that was there. So it was magical for us.
And you mentioned there about the town hall, and you said that was that being used as a dressing room for the
town hall
actors?
was used as a dressing room and offices. Gregory Peck and most of the actors used to be in there. I have wonderful memories of some of the actors, Leo Jane, Richard Basehart. They walked the streets of Youghal just as ordinary people. And we used to get cigarette packs and get them to sign their autograph nearly every day on the cigarette packs. And they always obliged. Two wonderful characters.
They had 4 ships in dock, like 4 genuine tall ships now. They had the Royal Lance, which was the Pequod, the main ship of the whaling expedition. They had a tall ship called the Harvest King, the James Postlethwaite, and the Three Brothers was just a ketch, 2-master up in the corner. But as well as that then, they put poles all over the market square and up some of the side lanes. They stuck poles in the ground, like I call them telephone poles, and they rigged them out on top with crossbars and topsails and canvas, so to look like ships from a distance. And if you were over across the river, or if you're up by the lighthouse and look into town, you'd swear you had 40 ships in port. We had only 4.
Now, John, you actually lived right there behind us. You lived in the heart of Youghal. You lived in the centre of all the action during the filming of Moby Dick.
Well, it was an exciting time in 1954. I'll give you a small bit of a history about how we became to live in the Clockgate. My grandfather and his numerous number of children, I think there was maybe 10 or 11 there at the time, in 1915. And he was a caretaker in the clock tower. His duties were to wind the clock and also call out the fire brigade. So when he passed on, my father took up the duties of winding the clock and calling out the fire brigade. And in 1954, I was working in a textile company. So I would climb to the top of the clock tower and look down on the making of Moby Dick. And one particular scene that stands out in my memory is Richard Basehart going across the road, entering the Spouters Inn. Now, they were hours setting this up. They had a huge, gigantic fan, and they had a fellow with a hose pipe blowing the water to make it look as if it was really severe weather. And they put a number of extras through the thing first before they introduced Richard Basehart, and then introduced him, and that was one of the scenes. And the lighting, and it was very dark at night, but it was exciting to see it, but I had a bird's eye view.
Can you sum up what Youghal was like in 1954 when Moby Dick was being filmed here?
Yeah.
To you at the time?
To me, Youghal was always magical. To me, Youghal was always magical. But in 1954, when the sets were set up, it was a wonderful playground. It was an area where you could see mystery. You could see the ships that, you know, you'd never see here in Youghal, but would have been here in the olden times. But sailing ships. We heard stories, all right, from the sailors who sailed in a lot of these ships, but Youghal became that place, that magical place at that time. And the extras that were in it, you know, in the show, and an awful lot of them are gone to their makers now, a lot of them are in them. But we saw people walking and said, you know, these are people from the 1800s, you know. It was absolutely magical.
Leave away for it.
How did the Moby Dick Festival come about? Was that one of the earlier inceptions for the overall?
Well, this, as you know, this is the 60th anniversary of the filming of Moby Dick, which was back in 1954. How it came about was 3 years ago, an idea that was floated, and we thought, yeah, it's 57 years at that time since the film was made, and let's do something about it, and we've done it, and I have to say, that again is working well.
It's the 60th anniversary, as I think Jimmy told you earlier. So we started on Friday night with an ocean parade, so we did a whole load of sea creatures and mermaids and pirates and all sorts of people in costumes and that, and we had a sprat pack of fish who paraded through the town in a sort of a Mardi Gras atmosphere with the drumming and the bongos and all of that going on with it. we showed the film Moby Dick on the side of the clock gate, which is obviously a big draw for people. It's a film a lot of people outside of town in particular wouldn't have seen, and it's a fabulous atmosphere in Barry's Lane when we show it on the clock gate.
Well, I was there last night, Ruth, and do you know what I found? There was something very hauntingly beautiful about it, that 60 years after it was shot.
Absolutely.
To be right there alongside where it was shot,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people just gathering there and
Yeah, and I think
watching
it's very special for people who had relatives in it, because you see your granduncle or grandaunt or grannies and granddads all up on the screen. And obviously places in Youghal that are still preserved are in the film as well. So it was superb last night, a really lovely atmosphere. Usually we have a group from New Bedford who come for the festival each year. They have just done a fairly major repair to a traditional whaling boat, which we would hope to bring from New Bedford to here for the festival next year. So we've plenty of plans underfoot, but we can't tell too much yet because obviously early days.
at the opening of the festival we had was it Tom McSweeney? He was giving his opening speech, and he mentioned about community, and he mentioned about needing people to come into the communities on the outskirts of the city, on the outskirts of the county, and having that as a draw. I found that very powerful.
Well, we were very lucky, I suppose, to get Tom McSweeney to open our festival. We always have some dignitary or other that will open our festival, but Tom McSweeney, we asked him this year to do it. He said, absolutely. Sometimes you need a power name to sell what we're trying to do, and Tom certainly sold that very, very well indeed. Moby Dick's is still alive and well and going well, and there's lovely photographs down there. We have an exhibition there at the moment which is going very, very well, of old photographs. Again, memorabilia going back to '54 when the film was made. My own father, God be good to him, stood in for Leo Jen at that time. The amount of money that people were making was fabulous because they were getting 10 shillings a day, and 7 and 6 for standing in for 5 minutes. Like, that was huge money 50 years ago, I can tell you, huge money.
Well, who would have thought Youghal would have turned into a little bit of Hollywood back in the summer of 1954? Now, don't go far, because in part 2, we'll be chatting to the Passage of the Foxes Lane Museum, and it's a lovely little gem of a place right here in the centre of Youghal, and we've a great music piece for you with the local band Synergy. Before that, if you have any information on an upcoming event in your local area, you can email us at cork@irishtv.ie or find us on Facebook or Twitter. See you after the break.